So when I say vertical gaming, we tend to think about stuff like Candy Crush, but I'm talking about AAA games running natively in a vertical aspect ratio. Many people like me have 2 monitors for productivity already, and one of them is often in portrait orientation, so it got me thinking. People are making every video under the sun about gaming in weird ways. How come I couldn't find a single one about vertical gaming? The only one I was able to find was Linus Tech Tips' video about, I think, an LG monitor that advertises itself as a personal gaming theater if you flip it on its side, and they tried Doom Eternal on it for a minute or two. And you may as well ask, what's the point? Why would you want to see less of your game? Well, I happen to own 2 21:9 ultrawide displays, and if implemented correctly, the way it works is the game, instead of zooming in or cropping the top and bottom, it will show you more on the sides. So my plan was to achieve the same but with a vertical setup, where the game would render more on the top and bottom of the screen. Also, I've been watching the GoPro launch trailers here on YouTube and I got inspired, so I put together a little trailer for this video. Let's have a look. So I tried quite a number of games to see what worked and what didn't, so let's go through what I learned, starting off with the FPS genre. Knowing from the LTT video that it would work, I started with Doom Eternal, and as expected, it ran like a charm, thanks to the already high FOV, as it was perfectly playable and actually quite fun. The one downside was that the image is a little stretched and spatial awareness on the left and right is not the best. This will be an issue with all of the games, as you can imagine. Despite that, I played the whole second level like this with minimal difficulty. The UI worked fine too. I was just too much in the center, so I switched it to the crosshair one instead. Half-Life 2 ran well too, but I had to change the FOV after every load trigger. Horizontal field of view was an even bigger issue here, but everything worked perfectly. Would I recommend playing like this? For the novelty alone, sure, but otherwise it's a downgraded experience. I tested CSGO as well, but it was so broken I couldn't even access the video settings, so I captured a few seconds of Dust 2, zoomed in 16:9 gameplay and moved on. Teardown worked amazingly too, thanks to the Quake-like FOV. I even had to turn it down and still saw repeating pixels around the edges, but despite all that, it was very satisfying and quite fun to play like this. Then I wanted to try some third-person games as well to see how they would work when you see your character. Starting with The Division 2, FOV was very generous and it led to some stunning views where a whole skyscraper would fit into your field of vision. Gameplay-wise, it was the same story, less awareness left and right, but perfectly playable, fun even. Control, however, no matter what I tried, refused to run in anything but horizontal, stretched to oblivion. It wasn't fully unplayable, but very close. RE2 Remake would also only run at 16:9, but without the stretching. Hitman 3 did run, but it was just zoomed in 16:9 and quite unplayable, as you could only sometimes see what you were doing and nothing around you. Red Dead Redemption 2 had the same issue, where it was just a zoomed in version of the 16:9 usual game, except the UI took up much more of the screen. It was fun, a novelty, but very close to unplayable. Moving on to racing games, BeamNG ran perfectly in vertical as expected, though the FPS kept jumping up and down, so I had to keep it to short bursts of recording. Also, I kept crashing the cars as well. But other than that, it was a great experience. Assetto Corsa rendered everything perfectly. On track with lots of tight turns, it was very difficult to see where you were going, but overall it was cool and playable. Wouldn't really recommend anyone play like this though. Dirt Rally 2.0 worked a little too well, as the FOV was sky high and I had to turn it way down. Also, I played in borderless and it introduced a lot of input lag because Windows had to rotate each frame individually before they would be displayed, something that is also mentioned in this LTT video. Overall, however, it was great, especially in stages with less hairpins and more straights. You could actually see very well and where the road was going. Apart from the lag-induced motion sickness, it was quite fun. Inspired by this, I tried another game I hoped would actually benefit from such aspect ratio, TT Isle of Man 2, and it totally did. It felt very immersive. I wanted to try a motocross game too, but they refused to run in anything but 16:9 and 4:3. Apart from me crashing at every turn, it was a very cool immersive experience. Dirt 5, however, was another story. Same broken menus, zoomed in gameplay made it close to unplayable and very nauseating. Thankfully, Forza Horizon 5 rendered everything perfectly, and it was more than playable in most scenarios. Tight turns were still problematic, but roaming the open world felt like the usual, plus the added novelty of it being in vertical. The Crew 2 was the same, except even better thanks to the higher FOV. Hairpins and 90-degree turns were no longer a problem. It was quite amazing. I had a lot of fun just trying all the vehicles and races like this. Rocket League was also playable, if you're okay having no spatial awareness, that is. On the plus side, you could see a lot of the ceiling though. I also tried a management style game, Townscaper, which worked flawlessly but looked just like the mobile port. So is there any benefit to doing this? Is it useful for anything? Well, yes. If you upload gaming content primarily in vertical like YouTube Shorts, it makes a lot of sense to play and record like this, as your whole UI would be visible and there's no hassle of cropping, zooming, panning or doing the blurry background but still 16:9 thing. Just you and your gameplay ready to go. But do make sure you are in full screen instead of borderless, as the input latency can be really bad sometimes. And that is it. I hope you learned something from this little video. Don't forget to press all the buttons below, and I hope to see you again next time.